Great. Okay, so really nurturing that relationship is one of the key things. Certainly we try and do that particularly as well. Nurturing it in different ways. We had a conversation a few days ago about touch points.
Right.
Just explain to me a little bit about what that means.
Oh dear me. Touch points are different ways of people receiving information. So it's literally how do you touch someone? How do you get that information across to them? And don't rely on just a single touch point. Don't say, well, I like email marketing because it's easy, so I'll just send out emails. That may be a way to do it, but it may not. So don't just rely on that. People take things in visually. You do a lot of work on video. People take in a lot of videos. Google have said recently that something like 63% of searches on Google are for videos. People like videos. People like audio. People like to take things home and read, so allow them to download information. So it's really making sure that you touch their different senses in different ways so that they receive information in the format that they want. Not everything's going to work for them. More than one may work for them, but make sure you hit them in different ways.
Yeah. I mean, we find that you can send the same piece of literature to the same person at two different times, and it will just land on their desk at the right time. There's an element of that as well. We certainly
and that's
well aware of that.
That's a point about if you go right back to who was called the god of marketing, was a guy called Philip Kotler, and he wrote The Principles of Marketing many years ago, before either you or I were born. And one of the things he said, he came up with the P's. It's price, place, promotion. It's all these things. It's making sure that you get the timing right, the price right, the place right, and the type of promotion right. If you get that right, it works. And as you say there, you can send exactly the same thing offer at a price that's right for the market to the right people. It's just the wrong time. Send the same thing again 3 days later, it's the right time. And if you look at advertising, when you read magazines or read papers, you'll see the same advert time and time again, because people don't automatically read the first advert. So they need to feel comfortable, they need to see it there many times, and then the message gets across, and then they act.
Yeah. So moving on to the way in which marketing is changing, the face of marketing is changing. Obviously we're sat, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Google, you've already mentioned. The concept of social networking and social media. I mean, I've heard a number of speakers here and elsewhere talk about the fact that big companies now don't control their brand, really. We've done quite a lot of work recently, which I'm not allowed to talk about actually, but with a film company. And they are absolutely stringent on their regulations and rules, that anyone's working with them that doesn't mention anything about the project or anything they're doing, because they are so concerned about maintaining their brand, because they can lose it so quickly in Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and so on. How do you advise a company to maintain their brand, or even indeed use those avenues?
I think that's the key point, is not to be scared of it. When social media first started, people were saying, oh well, it's social media, a bit like when email started. People say, oh, it's email, I'll leave that over there, it's not real marketing. And as the meteoric rise of social media happened, people started to realise it was another form of PR. It's very powerful. And we do a lot of work with corporates of setting up their social media brand, because it's just another way of controlling it. And the point you made is, don't ignore it. Don't say you can't use it. Control it. Make sure you're open. Use social media to communicate. So it's another way of communicating, building that relationship. Earlier we talked about building the brand and building relationships. Use social media. There's lots of success stories out there about people. BA, for example, use social media and they monitor what people are saying, and then they go to those people and say, oh, you said something negative about a flight, or you said you had a problem here, how can we help? The upshot of that is they solve the problem, the person's comment, and they get positive brand awareness out of it and positive feedback. That person then uses their social media to say, weren't they very good? And so a big corporate needs to use the social media brand to really promote themselves correctly.
I've got a great story that highlights that very, very clearly. You were saying that they were monitoring the usage and the Twitter pages and so on. There was a cafeteria that was offering a Wi-Fi service. The service was a bit intermittent. Finally, the user got online. They started tweeting about how bad that service was. they had to have somebody monitoring those tweets. They saw the tweet come online, and they just went over and offered a free cup of coffee. And the way in which you can handle a problem, as we all know, is almost better than getting it right first time in some ways.
Exactly. It's not being scared of the problem, not ignoring it, and not saying, well, it's not a problem. It's actually facing up to it and working with it. I think one of the things about social media, we had someone come to us very recently who said, I'm running a social media campaign and it's not working. So we said, okay, we'll sit down, and it was a reasonable sized company, and we said, well, what are you doing? And they said, well, I've got Facebook, I've got Twitter, I've got LinkedIn, I've got MySpace, I've got a blog. And I said, oh, okay, stop. How many people have you got working on it? Oh, well, I do it. Okay, right, and your job is what? And this guy was the director. So I said, how much time do you spend on it? Well, to begin with, and that was the crux. To begin with, he spent a lot of time. Now he's too busy. And if you're going to do it properly, and set your own frequency, set the channel you're going to use. You can't use all of them. If you spend 5 hours on each of them every week, you run out of the week.
Yeah.
So it's really making sure you control it like any other piece of marketing.